You're listening to the Road to Wisdom podcast, weaving stories told by wonderful minds about all things motherhood, health, intimacy, politics, nature, and everything in between.
Join us on an adventure discovering unique experiences that we can learn from to enhance the ways in which we live.
We are your hosts, Chloe
and Keshia.
You're more important than just a local
You
local
are the community chick though. Vanessa. We have Vanessa in the studio today. And by studio, it's our make-believe studio.
This is good. This is a good setup.
Yeah, it is. It's fancy, right?
Dude, it's profesh.
We've got the tech. We've got the tech.
We've got the
down.
headphones. We've got the mics. It's great.
We've got the crumbs of cake from our previous episode.
Did you eat while you were recording?
Well,
there was
we had
half a cake there, hey?
Yeah, we had a few technical issues. So, we jumped out and ate while we were trying to figure that out.
We were comfort eating.
My life story.
All right. Well, I'm going to introduce you.
Woohoo.
Vanessa. Hang on a sec. Oh. So we have Vanessa in the studio today on the Road to Wisdom podcast. Welcome, Vanessa.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here.
Oh, it's so good to see you. So Vanessa, we were just talking earlier, and Chloe and I only know each other because of this chick. So we're talking about community today.
I love it.
And how is that? We actually wouldn't know each other. This podcast wouldn't exist. Our friendship probably wouldn't exist. It might have, who knows, but in a different way.
I think the stars would have aligned and we would have just saw each other.
Yeah, or Vanessa would have just got involved at a later date. And
Boy, girls.
Yeah, get together.
But yeah, so, and the story behind that is that Vanessa here was a fairly popular mama on the Gold Coast. And you were,
don't say that.
No, but you knew everyone. You
I
were
did
like a
know
mum that knew
everyone.
everyone. And me and Chloe were with our first babies, didn't have mama friends. And
Yeah, because you guys were a bit behind, hey?
yeah, we were a bit, I think maybe a year or so.
We also weren't from here.
Yes.
Neither,
that's
guys.
No.
Come on.
No.
When did you get here?
When Bambi was born, 4 weeks old.
From Newey?
Really?
Yeah.
Hey.
I didn't know
I'm
that.
not even an OG.
There you go. Well,
I
you
just paved my way here. It's like, watch out, guys.
dude, and you had this grand mama community of I think mainly first time mums. A few had a couple.
Yes, it was first time mums.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
you had created this space where mums who didn't have other mums to be able to relate to could come, like anyone. You open the doors to everyone on your Instagram, and all these
Dude,
people
that sounds
flooded
scary
in.
doing that. I wouldn't do it now.
No.
But I mean, back then it was safe to do.
It was
for
a
some
little bit
weird
safer.
reason.
Yeah. And I met so many mamas that I am still in contact with. So I didn't actually meet Chloe at one of those meetups, but I met another girl who then met Chloe in a situation where
I met our mutual friend Madeline.
Yeah.
And she introduced me to Gail, and you had met Gail.
yeah, and then
we
Gail
crossed paths.
got us together.
Yeah.
And then but we never really kind of meshed in those catch-ups.
No.
And then come COVID, we did.
You didn't realise we were
Stars have
COVID
aligned.
skeptics, and we were like, oh my God, you're my person.
How much information can I delve into on this? But
Yeah.
and
I was like, where are we
Vanessa
going with this?
Vanessa created this space again for us to be able to reconnect. So yeah, and that's what kind of started this podcast. So thank you, Vanessa.
No, I do love that though, because that all started because we had this mama group or whatever, which we were like, this is the best. We can't believe that and back in the early days, you were like, let's catch up 4 times a week. It wasn't even once a week. It was we're going to this park, we'll be down at Salt Mill and we'll do this. And we're like, we hope everyone has this. Because we all felt so lucky that we all had each other and, we could talk about what was going on with the kids and where your kids are at and blah, 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 blah. And then we had so many people messaging us being like, hey, can we hang out or whatever. And we're like, why don't we just start? It was me and a few other girls that were like, let's just put it out there and say, we'll all meet at Laguna or we'll all meet at the Pirate Park or whatever. But a lot of people did become friends through that created their own groups. And we were like, great. That's all we would want from that to happen anyway. So,
Yeah. Well, it was amazing because like my personal experience was all my friends fell away when I had a baby. Like I had a friendship
so
group.
lonely.
It is. And you know, we were working, we had our own little business. So Togga was taking over that. And so when me and Togga would spend so much time together because we worked together, we lived together, we played together, like we were together all the time. Then all of a sudden we had a baby and I couldn't be part of that anymore. So we were separated, and then all our friends just kind of fell away because you can't make the same commitments once you have a baby. And so it was amazing to catch up with, and like there were so many like-minded mums there as well.
Yeah.
Like everyone was pretty
Everyone was like
on board with
stoked to be
everyone.
a mum. That was like the vibe I got.
Absolutely.
It wasn't like, I don't know, but maybe that is just like the culture of the Gold Coast, Northern Rivers. I don't know, like that kind of vibe. But I think if we were in Sydney, it would have been so different. That just wouldn't have been. I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't know what it's like down there, but I felt that everyone was like, yeah, this is great.
Like being
the
a stay-at-home mum was suddenly like celebrated, and we were so happy, and we're like spending all this time with our little kids, and
everyone kind of like held off going back to work because some people had to do that.
Yeah.
But they did hold off as long as they possibly could.
Yeah.
And then we all had our seconds and we're like, yes.
Yeah.
back in it.
Look,
Some of
I'm
us
10
had
years
4.
later. I was like, I tell everyone I'm retired.
Oh my God. Anyway.
But then we actually, Humphrey and
Leo, they're only a few days apart. No?
maybe a week,
What's his birthday?
the 24th of May. Yeah.
Yeah, Leo's the 31st.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like
That's right.
wild.
Dude, I know. And every time we'd catch up at the creek, it was just like, did you hear about Joe Rogan and blah, 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 blah. And then we would just like dive deep. And I was like, all right, see you next week.
Yeah. Like a Joe Rogan super fans over here.
But it was when, and like the kids are 6. So that was like 6 years ago.
That was 6
when we
years
were
ago.
like, I don't know. Anyway, that was just a funny time
Oh,
because I still love him.
so do I.
Yeah.
Fans over here. And I think we just lost 700 listeners.
I know.
Have you seen
We're
that?
being authentic. We love Joe Rogan. If you don't like it,
But also, before you judge us, please listen to a whole podcast all the way through. Just any. Pick one, listen to the whole thing.
This isn't a Joe Rogan podcast.
we wish it
don't
was
worry.
though.
One day he'll be sitting
now. I was trying to recover for you.
where you're sitting right now. One day.
Yeah. I've had dreams. Okay. No. I'm just going to leave it there. I'm worried.
Okay, they were sexual dreams. No.
Oh my.
No. No, he's not that good looking.
Fascinating mind, but
And he's quite short. Okay, anyway.
Oh, because
Leave
you're a
it, Ness.
giant?
No, have you seen Sean?
oh my goodness.
I know, naughty.
Well, I'm really glad we got to have a laugh.
Do you feel like you've always been like so community focused, like prior to having the kids and before Sean was, because just to let everybody know who doesn't already know Vanessa, but Sean, your husband, works away for what's his
roster is 2 and 2.
2 and 2. So he's away.
Yeah,
lot.
he's been doing that before I met him.
Just a bit of clarity. 2 and 2 is 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off.
Oh
which
yeah,
is
true.
Non-Aussie listeners.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Like 20% of you.
I know. That's true.
Yeah. So like before, so like obviously knowing that he was going to be away and you were like, well, shit, I'm going to be mothering solo because you obviously weren't from here
Yeah.
for half of the month. Was it kind of like the catalyst to being like, I need, or did that just come naturally? Like how important has it always been to be like kind of anchored in your community?
Okay, well, I think I can like backtrack it a little bit to probably explain why I'm like very into it. Well, like both my parents, I grew up in the church where both my parents were pastors and this is like,
Hey,
we can go.
New information.
Right, here
Continue.
we go. So they were youth pastors and they had us really young. So we always like went to youth group and like they were doing like youth camps and like their whole life is like outward focused. So like I was always around. I didn't realize, obviously you don't realize until you're an adult, but I'm like, we were always around people. People were always in our house. We were always having dinners. Like it's kind of like that brotherly, sisterly love. Like
Yeah.
what yours is mine, you know, like the Christian motto kind of thing, you know. And then they became pastors, and then my mum like kind of went into schools, like doing like chaplaincy, like being a chaplain and all that. And then they took over a church that was connected to like a soup kitchen. That's probably the best way to put it. They hate that I say that because it's more than that. It's like they've got everything there. Like you can do your washing there. Like you can have a counselor, like a psychologist, like we got a rooster in the background. A chicken.
I didn't know what that was for a sec. I was like, is there a baby in the backyard?
Yeah, no, that's a chicken laying an egg. Sorry, guys.
We can hear it, but I'm like, I wonder if they can.
That's wholesome content, guys.
Yeah, there you go.
So anyway, they've been doing that for a really long time, and I just had a realization when I became a mum and obviously moved out of that, where like everyone knew our family and knew us, and like our door was always open, and like we have experienced like extreme generosity like through our family and through the church, and just you name it and it's happened, like wild stuff. And then coming up to the Gold Coast, I have a 4-week-old baby. I don't know anyone. I moved up here with Sean. This is the first time we've lived together, by the way. This is like a wild thing. And then I'm just like, I don't know anyone. It was like my whole, like actually, like everything kind of just came full circle. I was like, oh, I was living in like a communal bubble. Like I was like, whoa, I just experienced all of this and now I'm here. And then I don't know, when you have that and you experience that, like you just want that for yourself and you want that for your family and for your kids. And I think when Sean started working away, coming back to what you were saying, like I was like, I need people. Like this is not an option. Like I want to be around people. Like I want to have good relationships. I want to like be supported by mums. I want to go to people's house for dinner. I don't want to cook every night. I've got 2 kids. Dude, I can't literally, I'm not joking, till this day, it's been 10 years. When Sean goes away, I guarantee you I'm having dinner with 3-4 people. Like they're like, Ness, come around. I'm like, fantastic. What can I bring? I was like, I'll bring an apple pie, but like, let's hang. Like it has to be. I'm like, I don't know. So that's like probably where it comes from, is that it is embedded into like probably who our family is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
needing to continue that on because obviously you realised, far out, this is incredibly nourishing. I was like, this is the best. So good.
But then you've just like what a gift to everyone around you, because it's what everyone needs. Like you say, oh, I need people, I need community.
Yeah.
We can like talk about how much, you know, you don't need anyone and like you can do it on your own and go girl and you don't need blah, 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 A, B and C.
I'm like, see you, bye.
But like, but in actual fact, we do need other people. Like it's like that was one of the it's like one of the factors of the blue zones, isn't it? Just community is like the biggest factor for like high life expectancy.
Yeah.
And for anyone who doesn't know, the blue zones is where the median age of people living is 100 years old. And the biggest thing, like it wasn't diet, it wasn't alcohol consumption, it wasn't like nothing except for being in community and having those close relationships. So what you've created is such a gift for everyone. You're extending people's lives, basically. Vanessa.
And if you're living longer, it's because of me. But it is funny though, because like my dad's diet is terrible. Right? He's like halloumi cheese, red wine.
Sounds freaking great to me.
It is legit. Severely dehydrated at all times. Like I was like, what is the go? Coffee. Goes and gets a blood test, goes and get everything checked. I'm like, I cannot wait for this doctor to be like, okay, we need to. And Dad's like, everything's perfect. And I was like, I knew it. I was like,
it's that inner peace, that inner joy is actually what trumps everything.
It is. And just being committed to people or a cause or whatever, and
something higher than you, someone other than you.
Yeah. It's like in this book anyway, it's like one of the things they say is turning like I stories into like we stories. Like it's a communal thing.
Oh, that gave me chills.
Yeah. But
so can we ask, how did you get started? You realized like you're on the Gold Coast. Can we give context to this? How old were you when you were there? with a newborn baby.
19.
So you were there with 19
Guys.
years old with a newborn
You're
baby,
amazing.
4 weeks old, just like completely separated from your family.
Mm-hmm.
And then Sean disappears for 2 weeks. Where did you start? How did you build that? What can we give other people? Because everyone seems to be searching for community still. So
Yeah.
where did you start?
Okay, I first started, my first friend, my first beeline to like, that's it, I'm going to be that person's friend, was my friend Kate. I remember I saw her down at the beach and I'm like, oh, her kid looks similar age to mine. And then I just was like, do you want to hang out? I was like, let's like hang out. And then it just so happens that within our like little like Palm Beach community, I had another friend, Chanel, Lonnie, like a few others, but like in the immediate like grassroots community. For some reason, it just so happens that like in this like triangle, there was like a bunch of us that all kind of had kids. And like, this is what I love about being like by the beach or like if you live by the lake or like by like a meeting point is that people like, it's like it happens organically because people are like, oh, I'm just going to go down to the beach. And you're like, oh, hey, how you going? Like,
There's no effort or planning required.
exactly. And that's where I've lacked, by the way, because I'm like, oh, I don't like need a plan because I'm just going to see someone anyway and then I'll probably like have dinner. So
Someone will cook me dinner. I don't even know to worry about going to the shops today. Like, it's all good.
Someone will feed me and my children.
Now we know your plan. If I see you at the beach, you're like just before dinner and you're like, I'm like, it's 4:30. Yeah, 4:30. Like, can I? I'm like, hi.
yeah, no, but that really helped is like we had this avenue where like there was a bunch of us that all ended up just meeting there every afternoon because we were like, we just want to have like a wine. Like sometimes we just need to like, you know, that afternoon witching hour and we just wanted to like let the kids run. And it was just like, it was a way for us all to like decompress like the day.
Yeah.
And like, that's how it really started. And then there was like some other weird connections where like a few of us had like caught on online, like on Insta. And then one girl, Tash, hope you're listening to this. She ended up putting us all in a group chat and was like, hey, let's all meet at the Pirate Park. And then that's how like our mum group started. Yeah. But yeah, like the organic one was just going down to the Ave. And then we had a more like intentional one where we were like, let's all catch up. But like the meeting point thing is like, I'm like, if you want to like have a friend, like go to the same coffee shop every day. I was like, you will meet someone.
Yeah, absolutely. Or
Yeah.
the same park. Like you're
Yeah,
pretty
like
safe
just-
at parks. If your kids of park age, go to the park. Or like I think another good one is probably the like newborn groups. I know around here there's a lot of them. Maybe in other areas it's harder to find. But like it's always a good place to start.
Yeah. Yeah. I loved having like, I mean, we still do like have our local community because it's like you're bumping in all the time and things just happen so easily. It's not always like planning to, you know.
Just being present and being actually in the community is
Yeah.
forming community.
It's so good. We recently just had these neighbors move in next door and it's like a whole nother level. I was like, this is amazing. I was like, what's happening? Or like hear the kids over their house and then I'm like, what are you guys doing? And then like my neighbor Mark's like, oh, I'm just cooking them some steak. They're just downstairs in the garage. I'm like, oh, this is so good. I was like, it's just different to like, you know, there's like so many different layers to like friendship and community and yeah, I don't know. I've experienced it all, I feel like, at some point.
And that's why I was curious when you guys built your villa in Bali. I was like, oh my God, are you actually going to leave your little community?
Yeah,
Like,
nah. I mean, look,
Not a chance.
like we wouldn't mind doing like a stint over there, but like deep in my soul, like I just know like I'm not gonna start all over again. I'm just not gonna do that. I was like, I see people do it all the time. They get like a 3-year itch and they're like, boom, they're on to the next city.
I
And I'm just like,
personally-
I'm like, good luck. It's just like you're gonna have to
Actually so hard.
rebuild that all over again. And it's not to say that you can't or that, you know, whatever.
But it takes so
me,
long.
though.
I think I remember talking to you about this at pottery once. Remember when we did that course together?
That was so good.
So good. But
Half my bowls have smashed. Okay, no, don't worry.
did you even ever go pick up your little mini?
I picked up everything. Yeah, I've got my mini couch and mini pillows. It's amazing in like the,
that's so great.
you know, that I built
Yeah.
like the candle.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
But the point of my story is we were talking and I think we were about to like go to Canada or something.
Yeah, because you were
and I was
doing
like,
6 and
it's
6.
so hard. Like it's actually so hard to bump in and out of community every 6 months because you just like, you can't show up for your people. You're not present. You're not there.
Yeah.
Things are constantly evolving and moving and there's people coming and people going and then like, you're just not there. It's different. You can't really be part of your community if you're not present. So I can understand why like.
Yeah, and like on that, because we moved, like we were on the Gold Coast for 10 years and then apart from your community hangs, which were a little bit harder to get to from where I was living, I had a really solid mum group. There was like 4 or 5 of us that same age kids got along so well. Like they treat each other like they're cousins. And when we moved down here, I mean, my kids only talk about those kids. Like they're solid friendships, but
so nice.
Everyone's kind of dispersed now.
I know.
So to get everyone together
literally
again,
when someone leaves, I'm like actually heartbroken.
it's hard and it's really hard because like the friendships and the love, it's like family now for my kids. So it's so important that we do get together. And I love those women, like because they were with me through the whole, like all my shit. And you know a little bit of my shit, but like all of it. And so it's so easy. Like when we do catch up, it is that massive oxytocin high and the kids just like they're beaming and 9-8 hours can pass without anyone noticing.
Yes.
It's like we caught up at 9 and now it's like 5 o'clock and we need to like get dinner on the table and I've got to travel all the way back down here from the Gold Coast. Like it's, so it is, it's such a, I don't know, it's such a thing. And like we are recreating community here. And like probably one of my take homes was whoever's having a baby in the area, cook for them. It's like one way to get in.
It is.
Yeah. So
no, it is.
Yeah. So we moved here and I was cooking meals left, right and centre. And then we had Poet and that all bounced back in droves. But
love.
Yeah, it was awesome. But it's still different. It's not the same kind of connection as like just where the kids all grow up together. Like they've got to reintegrate and
it takes time.
It does. It takes a lot of time.
I'm just like, just stay for a few years and I'm like, you will find your people, you will like build those connections, you will like have deep conversations like all that. But I'm like, people just, I don't know, for me, I'm like the Gold Coast I realize is like really transient. I'm like, people come and go all the time. And I didn't realize that. I mean, I know that now, but I didn't realize that because in Newcastle where I'm from, like that's just not a thing. I'm like, people you don't just come and go. I was like, what do you mean? I'm like, where are you going? They're like, oh, I'm moving out. I'm like, why? I'm just like,
you just got
I
here.
don't understand. I'm like, we were friends. I'm like, I'm never coming out there. No. But I don't know. That's the nature of the Gold Coast though.
Yeah.
Which is like, I don't think that's normal. Like I think most places like people do kind of
smaller towns I think people stay, but like Byron's the same. It's very transient.
So
people are coming and going, and I think maybe that's got more to do with like a tourist. Like it's a high traffic area,
and Gold Coast is tourism.
Yeah,
so is Byron essentially.
Yeah, whereas like smaller towns, like you move out to small towns and people are like you know that real nuclear. We got each other vibes. So
yeah, that's right. But one of the reasons coming back to Bali is when I was building there, and now that I've been back like a bunch of times, the community thing is the same there. Like in a community, like you have like the dude that like doesn't stop drinking, the guy that like just wants I was just like, it like blew my mind because like, you know how sometimes you like romanticize other cultures and you go, oh no, but they're just like such a peaceful people. I'm just thinking like, this guy's stealing my dirt. I was like, what is going on? I was like, you can't do that. And it's like, it's the chief, he's allowed to. And I'm like, what? How is the chief allowed to steal my dirt? I'm like, what's going on? But like, and then the last time I was there, like when I was there for a big chunk, I like got to know a lot of the people in our community, like in Babakan, like in just out of Chengu. And I was like hanging in his house, like one of the guys, and I was like hanging with his family and he's like, oh, Ness, you know, you can't do business with this guy. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is the exact same as anywhere else, you know? And it's like, yeah, you just got to like build all those relationships all over again. Like, I don't know. It was just like an interesting view because I've never like had that with another culture, you know. But it's like, yeah, the family man, the guy that wants to stay out of everyone's business, the guy that's the police are after. I'm just like,
one in every community.
I'm like Muddy that wants a job for no reason. I'm like, dude, I don't need security. I was like, you can't do that.
Wait, everyone knows Maddie, by the way.
And everyone does need security.
But anyway, it was interesting though, like, because I know a lot of them now when I come and go, and yeah, I was just like, oh man, it's just the same everywhere. Like it's, yeah.
I feel like community, like the concept of community has resurfaced, and we're in this era of like community, and people are like,
I know it's because people abuse the word
buzzwording at the moment community, but like if we're talking like intentional, real community with depth, like what are we actually? Yeah, because everyone's like, I mean, people are even putting community in their bloody Instagram bios these days. Like,
I don't believe in online community. I just thought I'd let you know.
Well, that's true too, right? Like,
spoiler alert.
So online community, can we do you want to define the two? Real life connection community and online community?
Okay, I'll tell you. Online, you switch it off. In real life, there's no switching off. There's no switching off someone dropping into your house, someone calling you because they're going through a divorce, or like, I don't know. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
you're bumping into someone and they're moody and you're like, oh, why are they moody? Like that doesn't happen online. Like that is, it's I don't know. I think it's more like a selfish
like online
way to do it.
Yeah.
Because you can feel to yourself too. So like in like real
100%.
community, people get all of you because like you say, you like bump into them and you could be in like some batshit crazy mood where you're just like, blah, blah, blah. For example, yesterday I was bumping into people. I'm like, I'm going to pull my kids out of school. I can't stand this anymore. I hate it. I hate it. I'm like, I can't do the morning runs anymore. I'm just done. I even said it to Humphrey's teacher. I was having I'm pretty much ready to take him out. I'm done. And then like
funny.
later in that afternoon, everyone saw me and I'm like, I think I'm cool now. Yeah.
Everyone's like, okay.
Everyone's just like riding the wave with me. But like you can't, online I didn't share that. Now I have.
Yeah. No, but it's true.
Where are people going wrong? I feel like, do you know what I mean? Like there's people
You're
who
not
are
psycho
doing
enough online.
Because
but
you have to be like somewhat intentional now. Like what we're like talking about was just normal. This was just like so normal. Like
So normal.
60 years ago. Like this was just like duh. Like, yeah, and people want too much privacy. It's like people don't want to be intimate, or they want to tell you this and not that, and and it's like,
why though? Why have we gotten like that?
I don't
Why
know.
have we
Because
become
we're in
private
like
with big gates around our house, and
because we're in like an
we're
individualistic
fearful and-
culture. That's why. There's like, yeah, it's
all like prepping yourself up, not prepping everybody else up with you. It's like if I can be up here and online and have this facade or whatever, it's like, I guess people do get glorified for that, as opposed to like being together with a community.
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if that's
No,
the point I'm trying to make.
No,
but
it's that's right. Well, people just want their own careers.
Yeah.
Like it's every man for themselves,
Yeah.
and I think like probably a time thing too. We're just so filled to the brim with shit like morning runs, and it but it really closes you off from being able to open yourself to the community, because like I'm hardly ever home at the moment. I'm driving here, I'm driving there, jetting off to whoop whoop for 7 weeks.
Poor you.
I
going
know.
to Italy.
Yeah.
for
It's
7 weeks.
awful.
Europe. Sorry about that.
I miss it.
Yeah.
But no, I feel like with that in mind, everyone wants privacy. And I guess coming back full circle, we did speak to Camille this morning, although they won't be released together. So just so people know where we're at. Coming back full circle, we put on these facades so that we can show perfection to the world.
Well, I guess that's another point, is like we have these masks and we show up to people with these masks on, not physical COVID masks, by the way, just disclaimer. Ew. Like I think that's where people go wrong too. They're too afraid to be authentic, and they're too afraid to be in a pissed off mood, or they're too afraid to say to someone, you really did the wrong thing, or like you pissed me off.
Yeah,
or
communication is
you're an asshole.
terrible. I've had to
Or like
read people's minds, and I've just surrendered to not doing that.
Yeah, so it's like I feel like that's where we go wrong too, because we so desperately want to be loved, liked, joyed, like celebrated and embraced by people, but so we're too afraid to show, perhaps we're too afraid to show who we really are because people are incredibly fucking critical and judgmental, and
or we are incredibly critical and judgmental of ourselves.
Both ways, right?
Yes.
Because you only want to show what you think you're going to get love for.
And I think people don't have like a space to like tell their story. And I think that's like really important if you want to get to know someone, is just to like, how did you grow up? Or like, do you have brothers and sisters? Or like I'm convinced that if you know someone's story or a little bit about them, then you understand why they are the way that they are. And then there's grace there, and there's like even forgiveness, because then you're like, oh, do you even know about them, or do you even know how they got here? And we don't really have that space in community to like delve into that unless you're going to ask. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, dude, you just like took me back to a flashback, because I think we started hanging out more seriously after the boys were born, and I shaved my head.
Oh my gosh, I
Dude.
remember.
And you were
Midlife
like,
crisis. Oh, well, I don't know what.
it was a crisis of absolute proportions. But you like, I think maybe after I did that or just before, because I was in a funk, like I was in a real funk after Humphrey was born. Disclaimer, we were at some stage, I will share the story. We're sitting on it at the moment because it's still a big traumatic issue for me. But his birth story is basically, my dad passed away on the same day.
Yeah. Oh.
I know. What a time.
I know.
But then like after that, everything just kind of went fucking sideways. And
As it should.
You'd think so. But yeah, and like I think it was probably more trying to get control back in my life. I shaved my head, had a full Britney moment, which is also when I met you. So the day after, actually.
Liberating, though.
Right. And then that's when you were actually like I think you're the only person who kind of saw that and was like, this person needs more people in her life. And you were like constantly inviting me to shit, like to the river, to the Av or wherever that was. Anyway, I think I've spent so much time with you. I was like, oh yeah, me and Vanessa are just like best friends. I don't know how it happened, but it's happened.
I didn't see you for 5 minutes and I was like, where's she bloody gone?
Yeah, right. And then I started kind of coming good. And I think in that way we kind of separated because
Well, I think COVID hit. That I feel like that's when I'm like looking back, I'm like, I haven't seen that person in so long. And I feel like that was like, because the boys would have only been 3. Is that right?
I think Rosie was just born when, so Rosie's 3. So
Rue was 10 months and there's 2 years between Rue and Humphrey. Mum maths. And so how many babies have I had? No, and so Humphrey would have just been about to turn 3.
Yeah.
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 Something like that.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, but we moved here in that time as well. So, yeah, when we moved away.
I know. See, this is my downfall, guys. When people move, I'm like, see, I'm not coming. See you never. No.
This is where I live. This is where I
do
stay.
get lazy. Like that is, I love where I live so much. So I'm just like, oh, well, you just come up here.
Yeah. There's also like, I don't know because I feel like I'm not a good social media socializer. So like I don't socialize online or on my phone very well. So like unless it's like with you or like, you know, like my really close friends, I could get on the phone and speak for like hours or so. But like once I'm out of reach physically, I find it so hard to continue this relationship. And so, like once you move, you're gone.
I know.
You out.
You're gone.
That's me. Or I'm with other people where I'm like, I don't want to be on the phone all the time or like be texting and like, I don't know, like I just want to be with whoever I'm with, you know, like the amount of times Sean FaceTimes me in the morning when he's at work and he's like, why don't you call me back? And I was like, oh, I was at the coffee shop. Okay. I was talking to blah, 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 blah. And did you know that like the poor thing, and Sean was just like, what the heck? But I just want to be in that time. It's not forever. Like, who knows? Like,
might just become like a crazy introverted. Like, I'm done with people.
You never know.
Can't see it happening.
I can't see that happening.
Oh, no.
Actually, that was something that I really wanted to talk to you on this, because I remember when me and Tugger were having our issues in the same time that everything in my life exploded. I remember coming to you and being like, oh my God, like we just cannot get our shit together. And because he worked away quite a bit as well, not 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, but shooting weddings all over Australia and one in Fiji. And so he was out quite a bit. And I was like, how do you and Sean work around that? Because the constant disconnection, reconnecting, like we just did not have it together. And I can't remember exactly what you said, but
I was like, what? I'm intrigued. Like, what did I say?
So I'll try and spark you. But it was like you had a routine together, because I think you'd been doing it for so long. You're like, when he comes back, he reconnects with friends or he does something for himself. Then he comes back and we reconnect with our kids. And then we have full-fledged family time. And it was like, I think it was something like that.
Paraphrasing. It has changed. Like, through different seasons and stuff. Yeah.
But
yes.
I loved that, because I never thought until that point of us having time, like Togger coming back and needing time for himself. Like,
I know, because having kids is like, it just takes every part of you. So then you're like, you've just worked. Like, that is no big deal. Like, I'm on my knees. Like, you do not need alone time right now. But yes,
but you did it, and it worked for you guys for however long.
It took us like 4 years to figure that out, by the way.
Well,
that was
helped
like
me a lot.
That was like a long time where I'm just like, he got back from work and I'm like, I did not like this dude. Like, what? You have just screwed everything up. Like, we have had this routine, and it would happen every time until I realized, like, like and like that's probably just getting to know him better as well. Like, because I don't need what he needs. So then it's hard to like allow him to do that, because I'm like, but why? I was like, I didn't really understand that he needed to decompress when he got back from work, because I was like, I don't need to do that. But he obviously needs to do things that I don't need to do, because he's an internal processor and I'm an external. Then we'll follow through to the story about Carl.
Yeah.
Okay, so my neighbour Carl that lives down the road, shout out to Carl, we love him. He's going to be so excited that I even mentioned him on this podcast. He also wears my hats all the time, guys. Okay, that's a whole other thing.
Yes, I've seen him on your Instagram wearing your hat.
Yeah, and when he's not, I'm just like, oi.
Where's the hat?
Shit hat. Okay. Anyway, so he kind of like had a pivotal conversation with Sean and I one time. We were in a bit of a moody vibe going down to the beach, down to the avenue where you run into Carl, and there's a few locals down there that you always run into. Anyway, and he was like, what's going on with you two? Like, Ness, basically like one of us had to stay with Carl while one of us went for a walk, and then vice versa. And then he was meeting up with the both of us at the end. And he had basically just like helped us function better, will I say. Sean was always like, I'm not good at organizing stuff, or like blah, 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 blah. But then Carl was like, yes, you are. You're organizing this about crypto. You're organizing this about when you're going to work, you're packing your bags, you're like blah, 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 blah. Like gave him basically a full list. And it is funny because I'm like, oh, it's so funny. Like Carl must know us so well, because we must just have so many micro conversations that he knows like all these little things that are going on in our life. Anyway, and then for me, he was like, you guys, like for the both of us, but he was like, you guys need to have hobbies that don't rely on the weather. And like, especially me, like he just knew that I needed like an outlet that wasn't revolved around like the kids and like him and like putting so much probably pressure, or like, cause I'm like highly social, to Sean. And then that's how I got into pottery.
I actually can't believe that.
Can you believe that though?
And so
that night I was like, I'm going to book something. And then I booked something.
Were you like, hey, I'm doing this, do you want to do it too? Or was I like, hey, I'm doing this, do you want to do this?
Okay, yeah. And I'm like, wait, hold on. Like, Yeah, but I think I sent through a screenshot because I was like, I was literally just looking at this. And then I was like, boom, I'm booking it. And then we got Caitlin on board. I don't know how that little crew started.
I was really jealous because I was down here already.
Yeah. That was like a saving grace though.
It honestly, and it was for me too, because I was in the trenches with postpartum. I think I just had Rosie and we'd been in Canada and I hadn't done anything for me for so long. And I was really missing just being, you know, like building those relationships and just like being around women, and just I needed that.
Yeah.
And so every Tuesday, I think it was, I would just be like, oh, it's buttering home. It's so good. I just
me and Caitlin would go through drive-through McDonald's. I was like, this is the best.
It really filled my cup. Yeah, it was so good.
So good. Yeah.
So, and earlier, I just wanted to touch on some things we were talking about a little earlier, which was people in your community that you're not really vibing with.
Oh, okay,
because
yes.
it's a big discussion, and I feel like earlier you were saying some really great points. So if we could go into that again.
Will I remember them?
Oh, will you? But just to give you a little segue, we were talking about how like I can sometimes feel very like energy drained from particular people in like particular times of their lives. And it's not so much that I don't want to be able to give to them, but I feel like I'm giving a lot. And it ends up taking me away from my family.
Yeah.
Like, you know, having a big family.
Fair.
You got to like be constantly giving.
Right.
But then I'm like, am I not giving to my community? But I've had to put up like some boundaries around like people every now and then where I'm just like, oh, you know what? I think like we can break for a little bit and come back together when we're both a bit more filled up, because we're not doing that for each other right now.
Yeah,
so
right.
yeah, and I was wondering if you like how you would manage those kind of conflicts if you feel that way ever.
Yeah, well, I think I was saying like I don't necessarily get drained from like the energy thing.
Yeah,
because I'm like normally like the way that I'm kind of processing somebody is like, one, I've either got to ask more questions because like something's going on here. Like, why are they like this? I'm just like, there's like a backstory of like, you know, like how did they grow up? Like maybe they're in like a really hard marriage, or maybe their mum is like doubling down on them or whatever. Like I'm trying to like view it in that perspective, so then I can just have a bit more grace and be like, oh, okay, like if I was in that situation, like I'd probably be like that too, you know? But, and then coming back to when I was saying like, it's like more like the betrayal thing that like gets me. I'm just like, why'd you do that? I'm just like, why the fuck did you do that? I'm like, or just saying something I said and twisting it, or I don't know, like that's kind of like where I like, it's hard for me to like come back from, but like I would never hold it against them or like, you know, whatever, hold it against them or not forgive them or anything like that, but just not allow them in that close. And I think that's okay. I'm like, I think that's perfectly reasonable. But yeah, I think that's what I was saying.
Well, that is almost putting a boundary in place, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like a bit of a protection
form. Yeah.
Because.
But I wouldn't be like, you're being cut off.
Yeah.
Like I was saying, like, there's people like in our community that have like pissed me off, and I'm just like, what the, I am so off them. Like, what the heck? And then it's like 3 months later, I'm like, yeah, it's up. Yeah, we're having a wine. Come on, let's go down. Like, I'm like, oh, it's good when like time is like a healer. Like it really is. And that's what I've come to learn. I was actually going to say before, one of like the pivotal like friendship things that happened to me was when I had like a best friend for like a really long time, like my whole schooling, blah, 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 blah. Like she moved away. She wouldn't mind me saying this because I've already said like if I ever talk about it, and she's like, yeah, go for it. She moved away overseas, and like I just had a baby, and like we were like so close, but then our worlds were like completely opposite. And that's when Instagram came in, and like, you know, when like Instagram just all of a sudden like you had an assumption about someone. Like you didn't really until like, you know, like you could like from a walk by or like a meetup or something like that. But then when you got to know them, you're like, oh, that's fine. But Instagram, like you can really go into like, you can create like a whole story about someone that's like not even true, basically.
Well, because they're only showing you what they want you to see as well.
And then every person that I meet off Instagram, I'm like, I like you. So like I'm not even going to think about I'm not even going to judge you from that because it's the opposite.
Do you remember before you could actually do videos
Yeah.
on Instagram, there was no
stories.
voice?
No.
There was no stories. There was no voice. It was
Yeah.
just pictures.
And my bogan voice came out.
No, oh my gosh. Seriously, but you'd meet people, like I'd see people on Instagram and then I'd meet them in person and be like, that's what your voice is like?
Yeah. that was
a
only
thing.
for a short time, but yes, that was a thing. And we ended up having a falling out for like 4 years. Like, I don't know. And that was like my first like falling out. I was just like, this is so wild. Like, I'm just never going to be friends with this girl. And like, and it's so weird because the longer you leave something, like the bigger the story gets. Like,
the more problems just happen to be the reason.
And like we both got married. Like I'd had 2 kids. Like she was pregnant. And I don't know, like it was the wildest thing, but like I still thought of her all the time. I'm like, I wonder if she thinks of me. Like, you know, when like you get to that phase and you're like, oh, that's so weird. I don't know. And then like I just like had this epiphany. Like when I was like sitting in the driveway in my car and I was like, what is wrong with me? Like, am I actually going to let this die because of like, you know, these reasons? And I understand that some friendships have to die because like, you know, I'm just the exception to the rule, but I'm saying like these weren't big reasons. These were just like things that had built up over time. And I was like, I'm going to call her. And like, it was like the most like vulnerable I think I'd ever felt in my life because I was like, I'm like putting myself up for like the ultimate rejection right now. Like this is like when like she gets to say like, absolutely not, you can piss off. You know, I'm just like, oh my God. I was like ringing. It was like, I remember just like, I can picture it now. It's like just like ringing and I'm just like, oh my God.
Don't answer.
I can picture it right now. Like
I'm just like,
I'm getting
oh my God,
nervous for you.
And then I was like, she's like, hello. And then I was like, how's the last 4 years of your life been? Like I just like had to go a little bit funny because I was like, oh, it's like my thing, you know, instead of like crying, I'm like laughing and everyone's like, you're a sicko. And I'm like, I know. Anyway. And like, I was like, how are you? And she's like, I'm so glad you called. She's like, I always think of you. And then it was like, we totally just like hashed out something and like she forgave me and I forgave her. And we ended up doing like a present exchange. It was weird. Like I made her 4 cups from pottery. She's an artist, by the way. She painted me like this beautiful picture being like, I love you. And like, I don't know, like when you experience just like a full blown, like you did not have to forgive me and I did not have to forgive you in that. But like a reconciliation, I'm like, oh man, I've got grace for everyone. Like I'm just like, that was a big deal.
Yeah.
So I feel like that is always like the lens now.
That's so hard to do. And
so hard. Oh my God.
But when it does pay off.
Yeah, not saying it always works.
No.
It doesn't always work.
I
know
actually
that.
had a similar, not to the same extent, but I had a similar situation happen with someone who I hadn't spoken to for ages, and actually from the podcast, she'd been listening to it, and we had a falling out, and literally just did not speak again. Like it was just a falling out, and then just did not speak again, and like we've both had kids and got married and all this stuff, and it was from the podcast that she reached out.
Wow.
And I had no idea because I've started a new Instagram account and all this stuff, so there was like zero connection, but she had been listening to the podcast and reached out and said some really nice things, and it started off quite scary.
Yeah, because you like
you don't know what it's gonna do.
Like there was a message from that person, and I'm like, oh, like oh no, I feel like I'm getting in trouble. And then I opened it, and it was this beautiful message of just like, it was just so nice. And I was like, and I was like, this means so much to me right now. Like, it was so beautiful. So those moments are incredible, and they got like shivers in your story there, Vanessa, because it's so like they're really precious and they really strengthen a friendship.
Yeah. And look, in the perfect world, I wish that could happen with every single relationship and friendship. And I know that's just not possible. But like when it does happen, it just makes me feel like, oh geez, like forgiveness and reconciliation and like something being restored. I'm like, oh, it's just so good. It's like so healing. So that's what like I think of when I think of community. I'm like, whatever happens, like let's just not like let's keep everything perfect, but like let's allow people to like make mistakes and, you know, things happen.
And show
but
up
just
as
never,
themselves and whatever shit they've got going on.
Exactly.
Allow them to be going through that without being like, oh, this fucking person's just, this person is just, you know, not cool. Like it's not a vibe. It's just.
But then even if you feel that way, being open to like this, like the falling apart, but then seeing them again and being cool again. Like, you know, and it's just.
It's like no
it's
absolutes.
Cool. Yeah.
It's like, okay, I'm not going to say like absolutely not. Yeah. It's like, because you never know. And it's so funny because some of the people that I thought I wouldn't get along with the most, I end up getting along with the most. I'm like, what does it go with that?
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
That is a weird thing. I'm just like, nah, not a vibe. And then I'm like, oh, you come over.
Yeah. I've found with like
it's so
my friendships, my best friendships, like my closest people, my first impressions of those people have always been like,
I
with
know.
you.
Dude, I'm on surface level. If you don't know me, then you probably don't. You might not like me. If you spend enough time with me, you're like, oh, had I ever not have you around?
I can't not have you around now. I have to start a business with you just to like have you around more.
Whatever I can do.
Yeah.
I think too, like as I was saying, like just also now having a bit of a slow burn with people, like just being like, it's not like let's see how long they stick around for, but at the same time, I'm like, it's okay to take time to get to know people.
Yeah.
You don't have to rush in and invite and do this and do that. It's like, oh, just keep it casual for a while. And like if it gets there, it gets there. And then I think I can think of other people too that have come into my life where I'm like, I'm not going to probably bring out like the best in you and you're not probably going to bring out the best in me. It's not to say like it's not communal or whatever, but I'm like, I hope that you like, I wouldn't like be false, like a false friend. Do you know what I mean? Like if I'm not like absolutely vibing them for like whatever reason, like let's say I've got something going on or like I can't even catch up with the people that I want to catch up with or whatever, I'm not going to lead them astray. And if that makes me seem like, I don't know, if the lens was like, oh, she's a bit rude or like whatever, I'm like, no, I'm actually saving you from like a false friendship. Like I want you to have like the bestest friends and like the best mum friends or a good community. I'm like, I can't facilitate that for everyone. I'm not saying everyone comes to me, but I'm saying like if particular people come that I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to be false also.
Yeah. I think like, I don't know how much we missed before, but something that we did touch on was like the things that really drive, and we laughed about the word penetrate, but I'm going to use it again. Like the fundamentals that actually really connect people. And I think that we've spoken heaps on just being authentic. And if you've got shit going on, you don't have to try to cover that up.
No.
Because you're so desperate for this person to just like you and embrace you.
Yeah.
Like you're more likely to be loved and embraced by your community if you just show up, even if that's in tears at the coffee shop in the morning.
Exactly.
And, you know, like being open to just letting people in and letting them know like, hey, I've got some shit going on, or like noticing and being open and aware that other people have got shit going on.
Yeah.
And having that grace and that patience and not writing people off or just like,
it's hard to do it now.
It is hard to do now.
I don't know why.
I think
if you experience the other side of it.
But also it doesn't help that social media allows people to have a preconceived idea of who you are. And then you meet them in real life and there's like this awkward thing. You're like, oh. Yeah. Like, do you know what I mean? Like I've experienced that heaps of times where I'm just like,
it even on the
opposite side where you know someone because of Instagram,
right? And
you think that they're somebody, that they're not, and there is an immediate awkwardness or like this thing because you like feel like a weird, creepy, stalkery person, and you're gonna have to try to let them
know that I know everything about their kids, like, their love life. There,
I know everything about you. We've never spoken a word to each other. Like we've never exchanged intimately, but I know everything about you because
I'm assuming this is how celebrities feel. But I'm not saying we're celebrities at all. But like on this,
me and my 240 followers would disagree with you.
But it's like anyone. You could just have one person and.
Yeah.
It's so weird. I had a really funny story actually. This girl, when I was like working at, I'm not even going to say because whatever. But anyway, she came in and was like, hey, Vanessa. And I was like, oh my gosh, hey, how are you? And I was thinking, oh my gosh, like,
Where do I know her from?
I'm like, just pretend. At this point, we're pretending because we probably have hung out. Like, I was just like panicked for a moment. And she's like, how's the villa going? Like, how's this? And blah, 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 blah. And then I was like, yeah, really good. And she goes, oh my gosh, you don't know me. And I was like, oh my gosh, okay, this is making more sense. And she's like, this is from Instagram. Like, I sound like a total creep. And I was like, no, dude, I put it out there. Like, it's so fun.
But yes, it kind of sounds
Anyway,
like a creep.
It was just like it was like a funny convo. And then she was like looking through stuff, blah, 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 blah. And then she was like, yeah, you know, how's Bambi and Leo?
Oh,
and then,
no.
And then she goes, oh my God. And then I was
Stop.
like,
You're like, stop.
I go, oi, do you want my bank details too? I was just making light of it because
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that's so
No,
funny.
you have to.
But I'm like, yeah, that's so weird. Like, I wonder. No, I don't care what people think.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone says that, but like to a degree, I'm like, whatever. I've heard it all, but it is weird.
Yeah. Because then you've got to like navigate that. Like, you're showing up to a new community, you're meeting all people for the first time, but you actually know these people potentially.
I know. And do you know what? The people that I've met that wouldn't know me at all, or like don't have me on Instagram or blah, 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 blah. I'm like, the conversations are completely different.
Well, they are.
They
because
wanna,
they're
like,
so
get
much
to know
more
me from, like-
genuine. They're
Yeah.
genuine, right? Because like if I just met you randomly on the street, I'm like, hey, like our kids are the same age or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
are you from here? Like, but if you know somebody already, you can't.
Yeah.
It's awkward if you're trying to engage with them
Yeah.
on the pretense that like you don't know anything about them. You have
Yeah.
to pretend that you don't know. It's really
Yeah.
awkward.
Yeah.
It is really weird.
Which I'm sure it's the same.
Deleting IG today.
I know. But I'm sure it's the same coming back to celebrities. Like when they get interviewed, they're like, okay, well, we know they live here and they've got these kids, and they would probably like, you don't really get to know them because like they don't.
No, you don't. It's all like a facade.
Yeah.
It's not real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think when I've met people that I've followed on Instagram, and Tani, if you're listening to this story about you,
Hello, Tani.
hi Tani, but I like, because I'd listened to their podcast, being a big podcaster.
Wait, what podcast is this?
Super Feast.
Cool.
Yeah, little plug, Super Feast.
The mushrooms.
Mushrooms, yeah.
Okay, I'm like,
Yeah.
whoa, is that where we're going?
That Tani was on the podcast
Nice.
just recently.
Okay, yes.
And yeah, when I first met her at the markets, I'm like, hi, I've listened to your birth stories on your podcast.
Oh my gosh.
Like that's how I introduce myself, because I'm like, I don't know you, but I've listened to the birth stories and they really helped me, by the way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think if I know someone on Instagram, and I don't actually know many people because like, you know, I went AWOL and off all social media, but yeah, I did introduce myself that way, like a total creep, because I was like, but it's weird otherwise, because I know, like,
Yeah,
I
exactly. You
still
may as well.
know things about you and stuff. So you have to like,
It's just like the starting conversation is not the same.
Yeah.
You just go,
like I know your birth stories.
Nothing
yeah,
else.
like you're like,
Like I've seen your vagina on your video that you posted on YouTube.
exactly.
What's your name again?
Exactly. But yeah, it's good to know people's stories. And that's probably why people connect with people online anyway, because they feel like they know them.
Yeah.
Like that's the whole reason why people like following certain people.
But then you're not really connecting with that person, are you?
No.
You're connecting with the image.
Yeah. Or like that story or whatever.
yeah.
That's why real life is always best, coming back to grassroots community, guys.
Yeah.
Like there's only so much that you're going to get from someone online.
Mm.
Like if I deleted everything, my life is the exact same. If I had to go online for that, I would be devastated.
Yeah.
It's
I
probably
think that's actually a good point of reflection for people, is if you were to have to delete your entire online presence, would you still be who you are?
Yeah.
What would you do instead?
yeah.
Like how would you behave? Like what's there to show? I mean, I know people who cannot hang out without videoing and posting and, you know, but I
Yeah.
wonder like what would the actual connection be like if you weren't thinking about how you were going to post this online later?
Yes.
You know, like
Yes.
On that,
It's
I
infuriating.
feel like we'll leave everyone pondering that question because it's time for us to wrap up. But Vanessa, thank you so much
Oh my
for coming in.
gosh,
It's
thank
been
you
so nice to
guys.
catch up.
I don't want to leave.
you can stay if you want.
Yeah, we'll just chat for hours.
There's cake. There's
I'll
cake
wait for
to
Sean
be
to pick
eaten.
me up. Oh yeah, great. Okay, love.
But yeah, and where can people find you and your bits and bobs?
We're doing a plug.
Let's plug it
you can do a
quickly.
plug.
Okay. Obviously, Instagram at Vanessa Prosser.
No, wrong.
Hammond.
Vanessa
Oh my God, Hammond.
Hammond.
Oh my God, no.
Unmarried. Okay. No.
I knew
We'll
that.
link
I knew
that in the show notes, people.
Don't
Yeah.
listen to me.
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't
Look,
know who this person is.
Honestly, just come there. But I'm not there as much these days. But I am there. Just come there. Or if you want to book a holiday in Bali, boom, I've got a villa.
Scotty Blue.
Hit me up. That's it.
Scotty Blue.
Yeah.
Good name. All right. Thanks, Vanessa.
All right. Love you guys. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Road to Wisdom podcast. To join the journey, you can follow us on Instagram at theroadtowisdom.podcast and at www.theroadtowisdompodcast.com. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. We look forward to seeing you next week with more juicy content.